I don't want to turn this into a tragic story because the last 3 years, really, the last 2 years has been really God teaching me so much. I mean, I learned so much in the waiting period. If we're waiting for something, if we're wanting something,
Mhm.
that's when our character gets tested, and that's when we get molded. And that's really what happened to me. I learned so much about life, about work, about God, about myself, about Canada, why I love it even more, and why I just wanted it so much more because I learned so much about it. And as you know, you can't really do much on a tourist visa. Like, we could not work, we could not go to school, we could not drive.
Mhm.
but in spite of that, we really made the most out of what we can do. We really made the most out of it.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Immigrants of Canada. Immigrants of Canada is a podcast that shares successful immigrant stories of hope, struggle, victory, and everything in between. I'm your host, Suzette Smith, and today I'm chatting with Nicole Constante, who is from the Philippines. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Suzette. What's up? Good morning.
Oh, good
Oh,
afternoon.
it's 2 p.m. Actually, it's 2 p.m. I just realized that while I just like saying good morning. But yeah, good afternoon.
We're so used to saying good morning that it just becomes customary, right?
Right? Yeah, and I think it's sweeter when you say good morning. It's formal when you once you start saying good afternoon. So
Thank you so much for being on the show and being willing to share your story. Before this interview, I was actually looking at the world map, and because I thought that the Philippines was kind of closer to Indonesia, so more south, but it's actually east of Vietnam. So it kind of just showed me that I really don't know too much about the Philippines. And so I was wondering if we could start off with you sharing what life was like in the Philippines and just kind of share what Filipino culture is like.
yeah, of course. But first of all, girl, you bringing up geography on me right now. Like, you're putting me on the spot. Yeah, but like, I feel like I'm not the most qualified to talk about the Philippines, since I haven't seen much of it, and I was relatively young when we left, and I did not really travel much. But between the both of us, I mean, I get to answer.
Yeah.
So the Philippines is a beautiful, beautiful country in Asia, which I miss so much. It's tropical, like there's the sun. Always there's always the sun. It's so hot. And I mean, in every place you can say a lot of good and bad things, and I want to focus today on the good things of the Philippines because I miss it so much.
Mm.
And yeah, we have lots of mountains and the oceans, which I miss a lot. And I think if you ask me like a word or something that I think about when I think of the Philippines, I would think of the people, because I think that what not only set us apart, but also what drives us in most of what we do is that we're very family oriented. Like, that's the thing that I want to say. Like, we're very family oriented. Like, most of the countries and the culture in the Eastern world, like, we really value our family so much, and we hold them so high in a sense.
Mhm.
So and that's one of the reasons why we do a lot of things, and at least that's what I see. I mean, it's changing for a lot of people right now, especially with the new generation, with the rise of the internet and the access to new culture. But I think that that is something that will always have in us, and that is something that will always, I hope that we always get known for.
Mhm.
So yeah, being family oriented, like the mountains, beautiful sceneries. Let's not talk about the cities. Let's just talk about the sceneries.
Yeah.
So there, yeah, and it's hot there.
Unlike today's weather, which was raging
Right.
snowstorm this morning. Yeah.
Right. I told you about how I was wearing open shoes today because I was just like, oh, it's been nice the past few days. And now I'm just wearing shoes. And then during class, I turned to the window and, oh, Lord.
Yeah. You're like, I have to walk in that.
Yeah.
I just
I
stayed
actually had some
inside all
few
day.
items. Oh, good for you. And you have a fireplace beside you, so
I do.
oh,
It's
I
quite
forgot that
toasty.
yeah. This is also a podcast, so yeah, for those who are just listening, she has a fireplace behind her.
Yeah, it is quite toasty, I have to say. I might have to take off my
Mhm.
blazer. But uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so let's talk about the scenery of the Philippines. So there's mountains, beautiful oceans. What do you think you miss the most?
Oh, oh Lord, what do I miss about the Philippines the most? Oh, I think that this will connect to what I said earlier.
Hmm.
So, what I really miss about the Philippines the most, when people ask me again and again, I would say that I miss my cousins. Like I said, we're family oriented. So I really miss my cousins because we grew up together. I grew up near my family. Our houses were literally in front of each other. And so we grew up together, just playing with each other on the streets. And then during the summers, we would have these massive family trip that we'll always be planning. And on Christmas, Christmas is also something, one of the biggest things that I miss. And I mean, hot chocolate and the snow and the fancy food and the fireplace is all nice. But I think that every Filipino would back me up on this when I say that there's nothing like the Christmas in the Philippines. And that's something that I miss and something that I really look forward to. Um, Looking forward to go back to. Although I assume that it was not the same this year because of what's happening. But yeah, there's still no place like home, especially when it comes to Christmas. And the oceans. The ocean, yeah. Christmas, my cousins, the ocean. Imagine if I had like if I spent Christmas with my cousins by the ocean. That would be so nice.
That's like paradise to you.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that does sound really nice. It sounds like, well, it's quite different than what we have here in Canada. And so, okay, so we talked about the scenery. What was life like growing up there for you personally?
So, life in the Philippines. I grew up mostly with my brother, with my sister, and with my mom. When when we left in 2018 in the Philippines, I was on the last trimester of my second year in college. I was studying multimedia arts in Manila. It's in the capital city of the Philippines, and but my hometown was an hour away from there, including the traffic.
Wow.
So there, that's what I was studying. And for a few months, I lived near the school with some roommates, but that only lasted for a few months before we had to leave there. But mostly, I grew up with my family,
Mm.
and then my dad was here in Canada for 10 years. Oh no, not 10 years, but for almost a decade. So it was just me, my brother, my sister, and then my mom. And like I said, we were close to family. So yeah, I don't think like I have much stories because it was just like I was really young and I was still in school. So you can just imagine like teenage girl growing up in school with my family. So that was life like for me.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking about your school, so multimedia. What would that
Mhm.
entail?
Oh, so multimedia. Um, so we studied a lot. My hands, you know how they say that there's this master of one thing and there's this jack of all trades?
Yeah.
So our course, multimedia arts, like multimedia, many different kinds of media. We dabbled more on being the jack of all trades. So I had some background, just very foundational since I did not really finish it because we had to migrate here. I had some background in like audio recording, podcasting, like video editing and photography and all that. And website design, although I don't remember much of it now, so don't quote me on it. So they're just different kinds of media and just the digital world really and kind of marketing.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. All of the different, what would you call them, disciplines or formats of
Yeah,
media?
I guess.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, actually. So, what one did you like the most?
Oh, I mostly entered art school the
Mm.
multimedia course because I wanted to study more photography. Around that time, I was getting more into photography, and I was so young. I think I was 17 when I started college.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't really know what I wanted to do just yet. And I just looked for courses with photography in them. And at first I was thinking journalism, but then I saw this multimedia arts, and I don't know, it just what felt right. And but I really didn't have a direction then. I just knew I wanted to take pictures, so I followed that. Now I'm here.
Okay, so what motivated you, your mom, your brother, and your sister to come to Canada?
Hmm. For that, well, for myself, it was not really for my well okay so well for myself it was not really a matter of motivation but of opportunity. Like, you see, we've been given this opportunity to be able to live here and to be able to go abroad, and I grew up in the Philippines. You will really grow up surrounded by media. It was all almost glorifying what it's like being abroad, but it's
Mm.
getting better now because they're portraying what it's like to really live abroad. So I grew up with the cultural idea that, oh, it's so much better there, or it's so beautiful there, and it was really my dream. And I think that I don't want to say everyone or anyone, but some people or most people in third world countries would jump at the opportunity when they are given the chance to go somewhere better in some sense.
Mm.
So there, it was really my dream because I thought that life was so much better here, and life is so much better here in so many ways. But I guess I just didn't know the full reality of what that would be really like. For my parents, however, I believe that the word motivation or what motivated them would fit more rightly and would fit better because for them it was a different story. Like, for me it was just an opportunity, but for them, more than an opportunity, they had the motivation to really give us a better life than they had, that they wanted for us, which it felt, which we couldn't see us being able to have there in the Philippines because of so many other reasons that I don't think I can really talk about because it's not really my story to tell without going into too much more details.
Okay.
So there, yeah, it's both an opportunity for me and then a motivation for my family. I mean, my dad was here, like I said, he's been here for 10 years, and then we were just given the opportunity. So
Mm. Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, was it kind of your dad that sort of encouraged you guys to come to Canada, or not really?
hmm I believe that I don't know how the entire story got down, but we would talk about it here and there. But he had this friend whom
Mm.
he helped from something, and then that friend was able to go here to Canada, and then in return for that favor, he found an employer for either my mom or my dad, and it was supposed to be my mom who was going to be here. But on the day that I think they were printing or submitting files, it rained so hard. It rained so hard, and she couldn't get the files that she needed, and my dad already had the files. So they ended up submitting my dad's file instead. And so there, just divine intervention from the very beginning because it rained so hard. So yeah,
Wow.
but the entire plan was just my dad coming here first, and then all of us. We've always wanted to be here.
Mm. Was it hard being away from your dad for a long period of time like that?
I was not the biggest fan of it.
No.
Yeah, I was not the biggest fan of it. I mean, when he left, I think I was only 11. Like, we were not even teenagers, like all of us. And he had to miss lots of birthdays. He had to miss Christmas Eves,
Mm.
which is a big thing for Filipinos and Filipino families.
Yeah.
How many times have I talked about Christmas already? But yeah, he missed a lot of graduations and lots of milestones, and basically just our life, us growing into teenagers.
Mm,
So there, I was not the biggest fan of it, and I missed him a lot. And being here was really one of the biggest things that I prayed about the most, because first I wanted to be here, yes, but also because I wanted to be with my dad.
mm.
So yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, well, you guys got reunited in the end, so that's joyous news, hey?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
spoiler alert, we're here.
yeah, and I actually wanted to ask, what was the journey like to Canada then for you, your mom, brother, and sister?
Hmm. It was nothing like I anticipated or that I imagined. So when my dad left, we were thinking that he would only be gone for 2 years, because his contract was for 2 years, and that after 2 years he would be able to get us, that we would be here and then just happily ever after.
Mm.
But that's not how it turned out. So those 2 years stretched to 8 years, became
Wow.
almost a decade. And in that time period, I feel like all I really did was cry. I mean, it's an exaggeration, obviously, but also it's a bit true, because I really wanted to be here, and it was my dream. And like I said, I was not the biggest fan of being away from my dad.
Right.
So I would always ask, like, why not yet? Why can't we have it yet? Because there were a lot of other families and other immigration stories of especially people that we're very close to,
Mhm.
that it seemed like the process went so much more smoother for them. And I felt like I was just in the corner, and our story had a lot to do with waiting and with pain and so much disappointment. So I had to do a lot of like asking why not yet and just crying. And with my dad's side, this is something that I didn't know, because I was so young and I didn't really care about like the beta year matters in life. And all I could see was, oh, I wanted to be here, I wanted to be here, I wanted to be here. All I could see was my own wants. But on his side, he was facing lots of rejection,
Mm.
and was facing lots of rejection when it comes to his immigration, and just merely being able to stay here. He had to face like lots of visas expiring and work contracts ending. And at some point he was even sent letters to asking that he go back to the Philippines, and add to that all the things that comes with being an adult in this world and having a family on top of that. So
Yeah.
it was really hard for him, but I am so grateful that he really pressed in and he really persevered.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And I think this is also, if I can be honest, this is also the reason why I pondered if I should tell this story or how I would tell this story, because it's not really about me. It's not mainly about me. It's not my story. I mean, I'm not sure, but you've probably interviewed some people who they had to face the mud themselves. They had to do the work to get to Canada. They had to do the work in their immigration papers, and they had to do the fighting. But for me, I feel like, I mean, all I did was cry and pray. That's all I did. And my immigration story is really by grace. I I'm really grateful, and it's really a privilege to be here, but I also want to preface this by saying that I did not earn it. It was not my own doing. It was yeah, like I said, yeah, it did not earn it. So there.
Yeah. No, I can understand a little bit where you're coming from. It's that unmerited favor, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So just maybe sticking it then to your own immigration, you did mention to me um, back when we first started chatting that your immigration was kind of it was difficult. It was a difficult road into getting
Yeah.
into Canada.
Yeah.
So what kind of challenges did you face?
Let me just pick up from where I left off. So my dad faced those things, and then he was alone here, right? And then in 2017, I believe, my mom was able to come here on a working visa.
Mm.
And around that time, my dad was on a student visa. He was on a student visa. Like, he was just willing to do right about anything just to be able to stay here because he couldn't like find working visa. So he got in school. And then my mom was the one who was on a working visa and just the one working. And then a few months after that, like 8 months after that, we came here. Like all three of us, they were able to get us. And on the surface, it would probably feel like, oh, yay, finally, they're here. Finally, her lifelong dream is given to her. Her wish came true. But it was just on the surface because that was only half of the journey. And I didn't know that 2 years, the next 2 years after that would include so much pain, more pain and a heartache and heartbreak and just lost hope. Because when we came here,
Yeah.
we were just on a tourist visa. We were
Mm.
just on a tourist visa. We didn't have the permanent residency yet, and so we really had to press in, and there were lots of disappointment, and my faith really got tested around this time. But at the same time, it was strengthened because it was the only thing that I had to hold on to. I mean, like I said, it was not my fight. I mean, I could not really fight at it with strategies. Oh, I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna try this, or I gotta try that. Like all all I could do was hold on to my faith and just really wait for what's gonna happen. And it
Mm.
felt like I felt so helpless, but
Mm.
at the same time, the God of the Bible was introducing himself to me around this time. And I know that not all of us share the same belief, but really just can't talk about my story without talking about Jesus. It's like trying to make mashed potatoes without the actual potatoes.
It's
So it's just
analogy.
really,
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
yeah, just to give you an analogy. So there, wait, I just got a drink.
No worries.
Yeah, so around that time, the God of the Bible was introducing himself to me even further. And we just extended our visas again and again and again, while this time we were under my mom's immigration papers. So
Mm.
before we were using my dad's processing, and then now we were on my mom's. And we were just renewing our tourist visa again and again and again and extending our stay here.
Right.
And for those 2 years, I don't wanna be so dramatic, although sometimes I am. But I don't wanna turn this into a tragic story, because the last 3 years, really, the last 2 years has been really God teaching me so much. I mean, I learned so much in the waiting period. If we're waiting for something, if we're wanting something, that's
Mhm.
when our character gets tested, and that's when we get molded. And that's really what happened to me. I learned so much about life, about work, about God, about myself, about Canada, why I love it even more, and why I just wanted it so much more, because I learned so much about it. And as you know, you can't really do much on a tourist visa. Like, we could not work, we could not go to school, we could not drive.
Mm.
but but in spite of that, we really made the most out of what we can do. We really made the most out of it.
Mm.
And I used to always cry. I remember crying to my mom, like, Mom, I feel like my hands are tied behind my back. Like, literally, that's how I felt, because I couldn't do a lot of things that I wanted to do. And it
Yeah.
felt like I'm here. It felt like you have it, but you don't have it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here, but I'm not here.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And it was just so frustrating in so many ways. But we really needed that season.
Well, in a way, this
Hmm.
whole pandemic COVID thing this year, with us being so with us being so helpless almost because you can't really do much in this season. It's almost like this trial prepared you for this, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Now that we're all, I think we all needed this to be able to like slow down and self reflect and to redirect if we need to.
Yeah, I
Because,
agree.
yeah, we all needed it, hey?
It's like,
Whether we admit it or not.
yeah, no, it's totally true. I've talked to a few people and they've said the same thing you have. Well, maybe not in exactly the same words, but more or less the same thing. It's a time to pause, it's a time to reflect. There's a shaking. Just, it's the same sentiment, just with different words. So, yeah, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. So,
Yeah. But you know what's amazing? Like in
hmm,
the shaking, we are being made unshakable. So,
yeah, no, we
right?
are
Yeah.
actually being made unshakable, meaning we're being made stronger. Our character is being developed.
Yeah.
It's really a beautiful time. If you just really stop and look at it from a different perspective, it's really beautiful. So
Yeah.
I've
That's how I
appreciated
look.
this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I basically looked at what we were going through. Like you, when you're really in that mud, you have to look at it from a higher perspective because if you only see what you see with your natural eyes,
Yeah.
you will really lose hope. So in those in the lowest days though, it was a matter of choice for me.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I'm sharing this story. Like, no, not sugarcoating anything, and just, because this story is really something that I used to be so insecure about. This
Mhm.
story is really something that has just, I don't know, gripped me and made me cry so much. But now I'm on the other side and I get to tell this story. And maybe for some people it's not much, but you know, it's just it just gives me such a victorious feeling because during those lowest moments it was really a matter of choice for me on whether like what we're doing right now, would we look at what we're seeing with our natural eyes? But for me, I asked myself, would I listen to what everyone else said? Would I listen? Would I look at the possibilities? Would I look at just what I see in front of me, or would I would I believe the God that said that He was able? Would I, like, would I believe the thing that I believe that God has promised me?
Yeah.
And around that time, I was also learning about the around that time I was also learning about the biblical narrative wherein the God of the Bible at least
Mhm.
promised his people that he would bring them into this promised land, this land flowing with milk and honey.
Yeah.
And it's so different from where they came from the land of slavery and bondage. And during that time, and then I claimed Canada, like, Lord, this is my promised land, this is my land flowing with
Aw.
milk and honey and maple syrup.
Oh, so
So
lovely.
I really
I love
claimed,
that.
yeah, I really claimed that word. And then, but in that story though, like the people of God, the Israelites, the people of God really had to go through this 40-year wilderness.
Mhm.
And I just saw my story in that. Thankfully it did not last 40 years. It only lasted a few years. I don't know how they were able to do the 40 years, but I knew that the same God who literally parted an entire sea, an entire ocean, just to be able to make way for them, would be able to make way for me as well. Even when I saw that there was no way available for my family and that even though I saw that the entire situation looked impossible, that the entire situation is hopeless, I'm so grateful that I had my faith to hold on to.
Mm.
So, yeah, and at the same time, like, yeah, he said that he brings into completion everything that he starts. And I mean, we were already here, so why would not he finish it, right?
Right, yeah. And I wanted to ask that your faith, did you grow up as a Christian or did you accept Jesus, later on in life? What's the
Mm.
story behind that?
Well, it's funny too. I think it connects with the Philippines, with the culture in the Philippines. So
Okay.
it connects with what we're talking about. But with the Philippines, it's normal to go to church.
Mm.
I mean, I can't speak for other people, but for myself at least, or what I saw, most of us, it was normal. It was just a normal thing. And it's a Roman Catholic country. Most of us grew
Mm.
up in the Roman Catholic culture, and even though you're not religious, like at some point, like you've gone to church, you were raised in the Roman Catholic, because it was just like all over our culture. And so I grew up with that. And then in my college, that was when I was not really invited. I get crushed a Christian church. I was not invited by anyone. Oh Lord. I just thought that it was interesting that because they were having like services in a mall, and I didn't want to go home yet because hello Manila traffic. So I wanted to skip traffic and just like, and suddenly I was inside like a church. And so that's how I, from being Roman Catholic, I learned what really the Christian faith is. So
Mm.
that's how it got started. But it's not like I had this knowledge about God and this strong faith, but he's
Mm.
just been revealing himself to me clearer. So
Aw.
thanks for asking.
Well, I just thought to ask because, I've met other Filipino families, and they all seem to have this basis of faith, which is usually Christian. And so I just kind of wanted to know more about that, if that's something that's embedded in the culture in the Philippines, or if
Mhm.
that's something very specific to each individual and their families.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought to ask.
I think it's more embedded. Like even though we're not always going to church, or we're not always reading our Bibles or doing all these things, or we're not always praying, like when we Filipinos reach the end of ourselves, or when we go through something, like we would always run to God, or in some sense like
Mm.
ask God about it or pray about it. Like we'd always have that embedded in us, which is a good thing, really.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so, was it this type of struggle that you went through when you were coming to Canada? Is that kind of what
Hmm.
ultimately led you into Bible school?
No, actually,
Oh.
no. I would not say so. I don't think so. It was not because we got our permanent residency December 2019. Yay!
Oh.
Got our permanent, yeah,
When did you get that permanent residency? Was that what year was that?
December 2019.
Oh, okay. So that was
So,
like just over a year ago.
yeah, just over a year ago. Yeah, and
Awesome.
when we got that, oh Lord, I was enjoying getting my driver's license and applying for banks. I was just
Aw.
doing all these mundane things that like some people would probably see as normal, but for me it was all exciting. Like I can have my own bank now. I have my driver's license now. Like now every time I would look at my driver's license, I'm like, I used to pray for this. And it was so nice that we were able to get that. So we got our permanent residency. And then yeah, just around that time, where was I going with this? We're going back to quarantine. We're
Okay.
going back to quarantine. I remember when before we did this interview, we met for the first time, and we were talking about how the quarantine has just led us into so many redirections and just staring up. And I think that's what happened for me, because going back to my story, like those 2 years, just me learning about myself, learning about the world, learning about Canada, and learning about work. When I came here, everything was so new to me, like entirely new. It felt like this whole entire world just opened, because there was just so many things that we did not have in the Philippines that suddenly we had here. And
Hmm.
then so I thought, so remember, I was on my second year, last semester of my second year in college when we left.
Right.
And when we got here, I said, oh, I want to explore first. I want to find out what I really want to do. And so I'm going to take maybe a year off or something.
Mm.
And so in me taking that year off, I didn't really want to go to school, and I thought that it was only going to last for like a year that I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do, and then eventually I would go to school. But it became like this whole debate with myself and with my parents because they wanted me to go to school, but I was really like being very self-willed that I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to come here. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this and I want to experience this. And we're in the first world now. Like there's so much opportunities. Like who even goes to college anymore? Like I used to be in that kind of mindset,
Mm.
which was not entirely healthy if now that I'm looking back at it. And so now being in Bible school. I'm in Bible school. For those of you who don't know, being in Bible school is entirely funny to me, and it's just so ironic that God is just like really just humbling me because I'm eating the words that I said. First of all, I'm in Bible school, like literal theology school, Nicole. If you asked me like a few years ago that I would be in Bible school, uh, girl, I don't know. And second of all, like in school, like I'm in school. And like I said, I didn't want to go to school. And so just those two things. So I guess me being in Bible school is just a testament to how God is really changing me and just like, just I just I just really, how do I say it? Me being in Bible school is just really a testament to how God is changing me and how He's directing me because I'm so, so, so different now.
Mm.
During quarantine, I didn't know what to do. And before the pandemic, before the lockdown, I think that I was in the most unhealthy. I was in the most unhealthy season of my life when it comes to just like my faith and my belief, not my faith, just with working
Mindset.
and just dreaming. Yeah, mindset there. Thank you so much. I was it's in such an unhealthy striving mindset, and then the lockdown happened, and
Mm.
then I didn't think that there was anything better to do. And so I turned to my Bible and I just made a decision that I was going to read it. I was going to read through it and that I was going to spend more time with God and just surrendered to Him because before that, something happened that just like, slapped me in my face that, oh, you can't do this on your own. You didn't get here on your own. So why are you trying to get there on your own? So it was just like that, and it's so cool because now I had so many dreams like in those 2 years. I was able to dabble into a lot of things, and I was able to meet a lot of people and do things that I just dreamt of, really.
Yeah.
But really, God had to take away all of that for me. But now being in Bible school, He's slowly giving them back, but now in a way where it has His blessing on it, where it is with Him now, not just it's about me. So there.
Mm. That is
What
so
led me into
powerful, Nicole. Wow. Honestly, like, wow, that's so powerful. And I can relate to that on so many different levels as well. So
how
don't
so?
think that you're alone. Well, like you, with the quarantine, right? You were saying that it kind of made you stop and think about your life, the mindsets that you have and kind of what's next, and you to kind of pass the time. It sounds like you read through your Bible. Me, on the other hand, I was in quarantine, and it made me really rethink a lot of things as well, and it made me stop. I had to break off a lot of unhealthy mindsets,
Mm-hmm.
and everything you
Yeah.
just said was very relatable. So it's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. You know,
Thanks for listening.
no, I could listen to your story all day. It's I have a question about this hustle culture then, because you talked about how you had all these ideas of where you wanted your life to go and what you didn't need to go to school. You just wanted to be an entrepreneur and do this and that. um, but my
Oh Lord.
it kind of sounds like there was a lot of hustling in there. So what's your thoughts on
Hmm.
that hustle culture?
Hmm. Now when I'm looking back at it, I don't condemn myself so much, but I just want to laugh at myself. Like, it was so funny. Like, what was I trying to prove and where was I trying to go? I would ask her that, like, girl, slow down a bit. But it's, I guess it was both from something good and something bad. Like, in a good sense, it was me wanting something better, because when I got here, remember, I was from a third world country, and then just this whole world opened up and so many opportunities. And in this free country, like, you can be whoever you want to be, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And just lots of doors open, and so I wanted something better for myself than what I just saw in my country. There's just so much striving, and I wanted to make way for myself for that. And there was nothing, and it was a genuine desire for me. It
Mm,
was something genuine that I wanted to have a different life than what, like, the normal, like, the usual ending of someone's life. So
right. Yeah.
that's one area. And also, like, I came from, Lord help me. And on the other hand, when I got here, it started from being like a healthy, oh, I want to be someone great for my family, and I want to be able to do this, and I want to be able to go there. It came from being a genuine thing to being almost an idol,
Mm,
because the
yeah.
just the Western culture of hustle, 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 and strive and do, and you can be whoever you want to be, and you can go there and you can meet all these persons, and you just make way for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It became this unhealthy obsession, and it was just like, I came to a point where I was just striving on my own. I mean, I had my faith all along, but I didn't know that it was an idol for me. Like, work became an idol, and it turned into something that I got my value from. Like, if I was not working, if I did not feel productive, I didn't feel like I was worth something, or that I was valued. And I just saw everything from that working lens,
Yeah.
and that, yeah.
Mm, that's so interesting. I have another question then. Filipinos, I have this perception that Filipinos are just hard workers. They're always
Oh,
working.
yeah.
So is this
Yeah.
also a mindset that's embedded in the culture?
Hmm. I don't think so. I think, yes, we are hardworking, and I think everyone would have a testament to that. My dad was just talking to me the other day about how he's working with, like, different kinds of people, and people would always comment to him about how hardworking he is. I mean, he's not the highest in the position, but people would always commend him for
Mm,
his hard work. He was talking about how, when his coworkers would just, like, time out, like, clock out, because their time was ended, even though their work was not finished, they would clock out and just, like, I don't care about that, it's not
mm,
my responsibility anymore. But he would go the extra mile and just finish because it's his work, and he's hardworking like that. But the hustle mentality, I think it was more because of my personality,
okay.
because I don't see it in everyone, so I can't really say that it's like a Filipino mentality, because I don't see it in everyone. It's
Mm,
my mentality. It's a culmination of my mentality, my personality, my experiences, my desires, but also at the same time, the hustle culture and what I surrounded myself in, and what I just consume. Like, I would consume all these step by step guide to here and how to do this. So, like, how to hustle and get to where you want, and how to become a better person. I
yeah.
consumed all that, and it was good for me. It just became like an unhealthy thing, in a sense that I was depending on myself instead of depending on God. I'm not saying that it's an entire bad thing, because it's not. Like, we all have to develop and we all have to grow. We just have to not forget where to depend on it. It's not ourselves, and it's not our work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to remember where your value comes from, where it really comes
Yeah.
from, right?
Amen, girl.
Yeah. Again, I can relate to that because I've had to
High five.
really sit down and reflect on, who am I? What am I without the work, right? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a question that a lot of people I ask themselves at one point or
Yeah, and
another.
we still, not just at one point, I believe that we continually ask it because work is really a part of us whether we deny it or not. We need work not just to make a living, but we as humans we're designed to do something. Like in the beginning, God gave Adam work. He gave them the guard, he gave him the garden to tend. He gave them the animals to name, each and every one of them. So from the very beginning, we were given something to do. And it's not, I'm saying like don't work or anything,
Yeah, this is not
but
promoting
it's,
laziness. Yeah.
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 Right. And so how did God heal you then, or begin to heal you from this mindset?
And I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn the hard way. He had to let me make a big mistake. He
Mm,
had to let me really meet the mud just because I would not, I guess I was someone who would just learn to listen just because it was something he said or something that I knew.
yeah.
Like God knew that I had to experience it for myself, that He had to prove to me that I can't do it on my own. And so, there, when I got to the end of myself, just like with my immigration, with our immigration story, like I would always be, I feel like my whole story is just God bringing me to the end of myself from immigration to this work thing,
Mhm.
just so I would depend on Him, you know. So yeah, He's healing me from a lot, not just with my false beliefs about work or about myself or about Him, but
Mhm.
also for the false beliefs that I had about what it's like being an immigrant here as a Filipino immigrant, because I grew up with this all this media portraying what being an immigrant is, and in a way it's both negative and positive, because there was the media who portrayed Filipinos here as like just grit, like striving and grit, and they're always working three jobs trying to provide, and they're always being maltreated by other people.
Mm.
And there's this other end of the spectrum where it's all milk and honey, and it's all
Mhm.
just rainbows and butterflies, but it's not just those two things, I mean,
Yeah.
those things can happen, but God really showed me that that's not the entire story, and He really had to walk me through my own story where I really enjoyed it. I got the other end where it's good, and I'm really grateful for the luxuries and the pleasures and all these accessibilities that we have access to now. But
Yeah.
at the same time, He had to humble me by walking me through the mud as well of
Mhm.
my own circumstances that we had to walk through. So I didn't get like the end of this or the end of that. And I'm grateful for that. So just false beliefs about what it's like being here. And when we were in school, we would have classmates. I would have classmates in school when I was younger who had a parent or two in abroad, and they were it. Like I was just so envious of them because they got whatever they wanted, and they had these new shoes, and they had such nice pencil case, and their lunch boxes are always full. So I always wondered, like, what would it be like to have a parent in the other and overseas.
Mm.
So there, I had all these like built up notions about what it's like being abroad. And I guess other people would be able to relate to this, not just Filipinos, where when you're here, when you're in this new country now, just the people in your home country just have so much assumptions of you, of what
Mm.
you're like, of what your life is like, of how you're living. So yeah, it's not just me, and they can prove that it's not all what people back home think it is.
Yeah. Mhm. I'm just thinking. Okay. So now that you're in this new era, we'll call it a new era, Like you have
Amen.
this mindset, you're going to Bible school. It really is kind of a new era. Like you said, it's like a brand new you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are some of the things you would like to see happen this year, in the next couple
Hmm.
years? What would you like to do? I mean, of course, God willing, God will always take us in
Yeah.
different directions. Um,
Hmm.
but what would you like to see happen?
This was something that I struggled with. You know, my mom asked me, "So, what's your plan after Bible school? What's your plan? What's your plan? What's your plan?" And it was something that I wrestled with God with because I used to be someone who planned everything. Like I said, I was a different person. I used to have plans for everything. Like literally I had a planner and I had a journal and I had a bullet journal and then my calendar. Like everything was just organized and I knew what I would do on this day, what I would do on that day, who I'm meeting, what I'm doing. And when God just stripped me off of all that, it just felt like when I'm being asked, "So what's your plan?" Every time I said I don't have a plan, it felt like, I don't know. It felt like I was scared.
Mm,
I was really scared because, oh, what am I gonna do? But God is also healing me from that. Yeah, now I don't have a plan, but like He's been showing me, like, I'll show you where you go next. Because in the first place, I told this to my mom, I didn't see that I was gonna be in Bible school, so I didn't plan to be here. As much as I was the biggest planner, I
mm-hmm.
didn't plan to be here, and I'm not planning all my days. I didn't plan to be on this podcast. And I what I would like to see is just I would just like to see more of my growth in God and just me being able to. I know I'm being so churchy, but that's my.
No,
I don't want to be so churchy, but but and thank you
love
so
it.
much for that.
Yeah, no, you're being so genuine. I actually am enjoying listening to your story. So say what
It was really it was really freeing. I want to just pause and say that it was really freeing when you asked me to be on your podcast, and I was really praying about whether I should be here because I felt like, oh, if I can talk about God, I would not really do the story justice, because what else would I say?
yeah.
And then when we first met, you were the first one to mention God. So I'm like, oh, Lord, thank you that I can be free. And
Yeah.
then you told me that I can just be myself, which was really freeing, and I really thank you for that, for giving me this space. And so yeah, going back to the plan, this year though, like I feel like I'm going back. Like I said, God has taken away, and then I feel like He's slowly giving me back the things and giving me back personality that I had, but now with a sprinkle of His character. Like
I
I'm
like
not
that.
planning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm not planning things on, just pride and haughtiness that, oh, I'm gonna be here. Because to be honest, like I can say I can plan. The Bible says man can plan, but it is the Lord's plan that establishes it. That it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Oh Lord, I just butchered my Bible. But yeah, like I can plan now in a way where I'm not saying, oh, I know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Oh, this is what's gonna happen. Like I plan now in acknowledgement that, Lord, this is what I want to happen. But if you have a different will, like I'm willing to go there. So right now I'm in Bible school, and I'm really praying to be in ministry. That still sounds so funny when I say it, because I really wanted to be in ministry, and I just started my YouTube channel, my faith YouTube channel, which is called That Churchy Girl. I'm being very churchy, That Churchy Girl, and then I'm really praying on that one. Aside from that, I just want to know more about God. And just this season, it feels like He's just equipping me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking it one day at a time, like what's in front of me. Because it feels like God is saying to me, I don't need you right now to bother about what's gonna happen in the future. I need you to focus on what I'm giving you right now. And right now that's Bible school. And in this moment, that's this podcast.
Mm.
thankfully, and also the YouTube channel. So I'll stay faithful to where He has me, and I just stop planning. I start praying. I start praying for His will, and I just pray that His will aligns with mine. Because I used to pray like, Lord, I want this, so please bless this, and I pray that this would happen. Now I
Mhm.
try to pray, and sometimes like I still have the tendency to do that because I can be such a spoiled brat. but but also what I'm really learning right now is, like, God, what is your will? I want that. Show me your will and give me the courage to walk in that, because I don't want to follow my dreams anymore.
Mm.
I want to follow you, and those dreams, they gotta follow me because I follow you. So there.
Wow. Amen to that.
Amen,
Yeah,
girl.
amen. Wow. Okay, so what kind of advice then would you give to other newcomers to Canada?
Mm. What advice would I give to other newcomers in Canada? First of all, enjoy it. Like, I really did enjoy it. And also, but at the same time, have your roots grounded. Make sure that you have your roots well taken care of, because I mean, we all know that Canada, thankfully, is a diverse country.
Yeah.
And if you don't have something to stand for, if you don't have beliefs on your own, if you don't have what you know to be true, if you
Mhm.
don't have the roots of where you came from, if you're not properly rooted and grounded, it's just so easy to be swayed by all these other people with all their beliefs and all their agenda.
Mhm.
So I would say enjoy it, but at the same time, be rooted and be grounded.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't, yeah, I would say those two things. Just be rooted and then enjoy it. Just the proper balance. And it's
Mhm.
beautiful. Thank you for this beautiful country.
Yeah, being thankful too for the place that we
Mm.
live in. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't for
absolutely.
oh, I want to say one thing.
Sure.
Like, don't for yeah. Since we're talking about the journey, since this podcast is about the journey to being here, like
Mhm.
for newcomers to Canada, don't forget the journey. What? Don't forget the journey that took you to get here. I know for some people, like I said, it was easier for them,
Right.
but at the same time, like, have that sense of what that journey was like. Because now for me, I needed to pray a lot about it. I needed to cry about it. I needed to fight for it, although not in the physical way, but
Yeah.
I had to fight for it. And because of that, I am able to, like you said, be grateful, have a gratitude mindset. And I was able to appreciate things more. Like I said, the applying for banks, just having my own ATM card and having driver's license, like those things still remains things that bring me into awe and wonder, because I just know what it's like to not have them, and it just brings you to so much humility, especially for me, because I know that I did not earn it. So
Mm.
yeah, don't forget where you came from, what got you here.
Mm. All right. We'll close on that. For those who want to learn more about you, where can they follow you?
Oh, thank you so much. That is so sweet. I was not expecting you would ask that. It's funny because yesterday I literally just posted on Instagram that I said, "See you in 2022," because I'm not on Instagram for a year.
Okay.
Yeah, but they can. I would really appreciate it if I could tell them about my YouTube channel. So it's that churchy girl, like no space, that churchy girl, because that's really where I would be focusing now. That's the reason why I stopped using Instagram, so I could focus on it.
Hmm.
And yeah, just that churchy girl. I don't use much, and yeah, my Facebook is basically just use that as messenger. So just that churchy girl on YouTube for
Okay.
churchy videos.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being on the show today. And thank you so much for being honest and open and just sharing
Oh.
from your heart.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the space to be able to do it and feeling safe to do it and being comfortable to do it.
Thanks for watching this episode. I hope it's left you feeling blessed. Immigrants of Canada is supported financially by people like you. If you feel led to donate, please visit www.immigrants.ofcanada.com/donate. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.